Let's Get Printing with Zach Dewhurst is brought to you by DecoNetwork. DecoNetwork software is designed for the apparel decoration industry to keep staff and equipment running smoothly. Learn more at DecoNetwork.com.
Hi and hello everyone, it's Zach Dewhurst with another episode. Is contract printing and embroidery right for your business? I've brought on Tim Pipp to help give you input from his years of experience when it comes to offering contract printing and embroidery services to his clientele. So Tim, introduce yourself and we'll get started.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Tim Pipp. My company's Bees Tea Screen Printing. We're located in New Hampshire. I've got 2 storefront locations, and then we've got a separate production facility a town away from one of my stores. We opened up our second storefront in February of 2020, so about 3 weeks before all the states started shutting down, we had opened up our second store, but things are looking back up, and we've just kind of juked around over the last 10 years, and just expanded our product offerings and what we do as a business.
Thanks, Tim. So again, today's webinar is going to focus around, is contract printing and embroidery right for your business? All right, so what is contract printing and embroidery? Well, first thing is it typically revolves around bulk decorating. Usually most shops who offer contract printing and embroidery have a piece minimum of 72 to 144. Now, that is not to say that it's always that's the case. I know with Tim, what is your minimum for contract work?
We honestly do any quantity. We have a lot of smaller print shops that either don't offer printing or don't offer that type of printing, whether it's embroidery or screen printing. So we do one-offs, but we have to kind of decide if they're a really contract customer or if they're really just a customer. So, but we don't have any minimums. Sweet spots probably between that 72 and 144. But we've done 10,000. We've done 1.
Okay, and it's typically the idea is maybe the volume isn't in this order, but throughout the entire year, there will be a lot of volume, and that's what separates them from being a customer and becoming that contract client. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's the biggest part of it is it's an ongoing relationship that it's a lot less customer work than a normal customer would be, and you're working mostly with one person rather than many customers. You're working with somebody that's worked with all of these other customers. So, but we've had people that have been using us for 8 or 9 years. I've been in business for 10 years. I've had, the same contract people come to me for the last 8 or 9 years, and, they're doing all the selling and I'm just doing all the printing.
And when, you kind of mentioned there, you have customers and you have clients. A customer is somebody who comes to one of your shops and they have, a small event. Maybe it's a family reunion or it's a birthday. They're looking to create a one-off gift, or maybe it is a sports team, but it's not continuous repeat orders versus your clientele are continuously bringing you orders from year to year. They're kind of predictable of what at minimum they're going to bring you. Is that kind of how you differentiate a customer from a client?
Yeah, we used to have minimums. That was, I think that's a big thing that our industry tries to do is creating these minimums. And I always tell my staff that we're not selling a process, we're selling a finished product. So it's not about the process necessarily: vinyl, screen printed transfers, direct to garment, digital printing, or screen printing. It's about the final product that the customer is buying. And so we got rid of our minimums by offering all of those options. And so now everybody that comes into our store is treated the same way, because that one order that they may have may turn into a 1,000-piece order down the road. And so, yes, there's some people that come back once a year for one piece, But then there's a lot of people that come back multiple times a year for more than one piece. So, you know, in the contract world, we're getting orders once a week, sometimes a couple times a week. And, you know, that's what's a little bit more special about those relationships.
Okay. And as you were kind of pointing out there, your clientele it's a long-term working relationship for your contract clients. And they're often other decoration shops, like I bet a lot of listeners during this webinar, who may not offer screen printing, or maybe they do offer screen printing, but they only have a manual press, and a 500-piece order is just not as ideal for them as your automatic press, or maybe it's a 10 color. So what percentage of your contract clients are in the industry versus, you know, retailers and brands? I'm not saying maybe you work with Disney, but I do know Disney, and I'm here in Columbus, Ohio, where we have L Brands, Victoria's Secret, and Abercrombie and Fitch, and a lot of those others. A lot of those orders are printed by local shops that they contract to.
Yeah, we probably have 25 or 30. It might even be more, but people that come back often to us, and you know, out of those, I would say 5 or 10 of them are more of that retail brand type business, where they come in, they've got a band or something like that, and they're buying their own stuff and they're just giving it to us to print. And we kind of call that a contract customer, because they're bringing their own stuff in and they're ordering often. They're making it pretty easy for us by sending us print ready artwork. You know, they're not a real lot to deal with. But then the other side of that is the actual people that own the print shops. We deal with, you know, out of about 20 of them, I would say, you know, at least half of them don't print at all, So they're just selling it. And some of them have like a heat press, or, you know, they'll do some small stuff at home, but most of them are calling us and saying, we want you to do our stuff. But then you've got the shops that don't do screen printing or don't do embroidery, and they sell a lot of screen printing, but they also sell some embroidery. And, you know, that's an investment. Getting embroidery equipment is definitely a bigger investment to just jump into, whereas the screen printing or heat pressing you can kind of do on a smaller budget. You know, when we first started, we were outsourcing all of our embroidery, and just over time recognized that, you know, we were paying for our contract embroiderers equipment. So, you know, they're all different varieties of different contract stuff, but, you know, for us, it's a big chunk of it is actual people that do not print.
Okay, but essentially those individuals, or more so, a lot of them are companies, they understand how the industry works. So you mentioned that they typically supply the products to you. So they have a relationship with a Sanmar and S&S. They've already established that relationship, which does take a little bit of work, because they won't sell to just anybody. And they've either educated themselves, or you've educated them on what exactly you need from them to place the order as efficiently as possible. So when it comes to your contract clients, how much communication is needed, for example, to get you 1,000-piece order? I mean, are some of your contract clients, can they literally just submit it through a website or email it to you, and that's all you need, because they know exactly what you need to know in the format that you want it?
This is one of the biggest challenges with contract printing, is getting people, and sorry if you can hear my email, I get a lot of emails. It's dinging in the background. Getting other printers or other people that are coming to us for contract work, getting them to kind of follow our rules. And, you know, our rules per se are not much different than any other print shop or contract print shop, but you have to get me the artwork ready to go. I don't want a JPEG or a bitmap or a PNG or, we want a vector file. That is ideal. That's ideal for our industry in general. If you don't have a vector, just get us something that we can use. We don't want back and forth between you and your customer. We want you to give us what we need right away. Most contract customers are buying their own garments. One thing that we do as a business is we offer our customers, we will buy the garments for them, and we'll give them our pricing. And what I get out of that is I get a bigger buying power from my vendors. So if I'm using Alpha Broder, I can say I spent X amount of dollars this year versus what I would have spent if I didn't buy all my contract customer stuff. But we leave it up to them to check stock and quantities and pricing and all the other stuff. It should really be a quick interaction. There might be a couple questions, but today we got a box that showed up. It's got a purchase order. We don't know who sent it. We're just gonna wait, and that happens often. But for our customers, we tell them put the purchase order and the name of your business in the purchase order. Send us an email before you send anything out so we know it's coming in. Send us the sizes, the quantity, the colors, the print, a proof, and a deadline. And once we have all of those things, we can get going. But you only get some of those things, and then you get questions on what's the price. And the beauty about contract pricing is we're sending you a contract price list up front, so you're going to see exactly what we're charging you up front. We will explain to you how that all works, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. And the way we price contract work is different than we would price our retail customer work, because this is more of an a la carte menu. So one color for 49 pieces is $1.25, but if you get a white underbase, then it's marked as 2 colors, so it's $1.75. And in our setup charges below, you'll see, or it'll show why that is. Count dark on light. Dark shirts require a white underbase. Pricing starts at 2 colors. So we often have customers. I think the first 3 months of a new customer has its challenges, because you're learning each other's ways and the way you kind of work and stuff like that. But we have some customers that they won't even get into embroidery because we're doing a good job, and it's less of a hassle for them because all they've got to do is send us their stuff. But I've got some people that I've got a couple of customers that they're not as easy, and they ask me a price every single time they've got a job, and they send me something that's not vectorized, or I want this embroidered and it's a full color picture or something. So having that customer know what's going on and how this industry works is super important. But we know up front that it's going to be a little bit of work, and then at the end they're going to start sending us these big orders.
You got to love it when they take a JPEG or a PNG and they just save it as .ai or .svg. And, oh, look, it's a vector. Or they just take it in Illustrator and they just click save. So
I actually had a funny one. Last week, actually, I got into somewhat of an argument with a new contract, their designer, who's not even part of their company, but he said, I'm going to send you JPEGs and you're going to be able to work with it. I've been in this business for years. And I said, you know what? That's fine and all. I've also been in this business for years, and I can't use your JPEG because you've already separated the file. And so I went into I've got an automatic. The way we register jobs is different. The way we set it up is different. The stroke, the choke, all of that stuff, it's going to be different than what you're doing. And he goes, I don't know what you just said, but I'm just going to send you a vector file from now on. And it was like, and this guy told me how old he was and 30 plus years of experience, and okay, that's cool, but my business is different than what you're doing, and so these are my rules, and that's kind of my point is we've set rules, and we're not going to kind of go past those just for just to help somebody else out in this sense. We're not going to use a JPEG that's a bit blurry and pixelated because he said I can or I have to.
I know in the industry, for some contract clients, they'll call it striking. if you're going to do like a retail client. And a strike is when you're essentially creating some product through a special print method potentially, and showing the retailer, hey, here's what it's going to be finished. Now, do you want to buy the 100,000 of these? Have you ever been asked to do something like that for some of your contract clients?
Yeah, actually, this particular guy is asking about it, but you know, it's really situational. We don't do strikeoffs, and that's pretty just common for me and my business. I'm a little unique, I think, because of the 2 stores that we have. We deal with a lot of small quantity runs. I have 2 automatic presses. They run over 40 hours a week. We could probably run a second shift at this point, but so I don't have any manuals. We got rid of those once we got the second auto, and we just don't have a whole lot of time to be setting up a 4-color job for one shirt. We do offer other solutions like you know, a direct to garment but we do let them know that it's not going to be the same as the final production. But most of the time in this situation, we ask, why do you want to see proof, printed proof? And a lot of the times is, oh, we want to see the quality of the shirt, the quality of the print, and that's it. And so we send them a blank shirt. We send them a pre-printed shirt that we've done before. There's your quality. There's your quality of your shirt. And you know, at that point, you kind of got to trust what I'm doing, what I've done. And but you know, we've had a customer years ago. I want 6 shirts, and then I'll order 100,000. I said no, and he showed me his Facebook page. He had 2 million followers. I said, when do you need the 6 shirts? So, you know, and that became the biggest account I've ever had, and he was a contract customer as well. But so it's really based on the job, the person, and what they're asking us to do. Yep.
Okay. And a lot of things are case by case basis, it sounds like, because you never know the potential of that relationship. Which brings us to why offer contract printing embroidery, and we've kind of been talking about it a little bit here. Is it can lead to a lot of other relationships. It sounds like you never know who that person is related to or what division they represent of a whole larger organization. So other than the other leads that come from your contract work, as far as profitability, how profitable is contract work, and when is it not profitable?
Well, you know, I didn't really think we'd go more into the contract world, but we're definitely heading more towards that. You know, when we opened our second store, print shops were reaching out to us about printing for them. And so we've got this exposure in our community as, you know, the place to go for custom apparel, but then other print shops are like, well, we don't offer custom apparel. These guys do. Maybe we can tag team on them. I bought a second auto 2 years ago, and it was more, we didn't really need it, but I knew we would need it at some point. And so it was really good filler. And so, you know, contract is really good filler work. I don't know that I can make a business the way I've done it out of being my main source of income and printing. I would say 25 or less % of our business is contract. But you know, a huge part of contract is the efficiency. And, you know, if you make a mistake or you take too long or you judge something, it's costly. Whereas with a normal customer, you're almost doubling your money. With contract customer, they're paying for the garment. So, you know, you got a $1.80 t-shirt that you just messed up. You're charging them $1 for the print. Now you're $2.80 into this thing, and you know, and you're only getting $1. So there's a lot of room for error, but you know, we definitely like it when we're slower. We have one contract customer. He actually rents out of my building, out of my production facility. He is one of our bigger customers, but he sends us other work. All I got to do when we're slow is say, hey, I'm not busy. And he goes out, calls all of his customers, and we end up getting, you know, busy from that. So, and he actually is cheaper pricing than my contract rates that you saw. You know, we've just come up with a number that he pays, and 1, 2, 3 colors, he pays the same price. Front and back, he pays, you know, ×2, and that's it. But he comes to me with the shirts, he comes to me with the colors, artwork ready to go, and he gives me about 2 weeks to finish everything. So, you know, he's a good customer because he's there when I need him. And but, you know, a mistaken contract could cost more than the job was even worth.
Yeah, and those auto presses are really nice, but one, they're expensive, and two, they want to print. So having that contract work, it allows that machine to essentially be continuously running and cover a lot of your overhead costs, right? I mean, like, not saying that our goal is to break even, but I mean, 15 years ago when I worked at Best Buy, I could not believe that, oh, we sell how many products at a loss? You're telling me we'll lose $10 on that laptop so we can make $40 on the case that we're selling for $45? I mean, it was kind of crazy, some of the thinking, but obviously they knew what they were doing. So as you kind of said, you haven't made it your primary part of the business, but does it help give you a little bit of peace of mind that you're never gonna, paying those employees and just keeping your equipment going and paying it off is easier because you open the door to the contract work?
Yeah, you know, when COVID first hit, one of the things that was a little more constant was the contract work, because, you know, you have 25, 30 different businesses or people that are doing all the footwork for you, and they're giving you these perfect, like, orders that are put together. Whereas, you know, I've got my sales staff is 5 people right now, and each of them might put 3 or 4 orders together a day. Contract person might send, we could get 4 or 5 orders a day just from a contract person. So, and I have one particular person in my company that handles all of our contract work. And so she is putting together 10 or 15 orders a day. And so they're a lot easier to put together. But you know, it's not easier. It's not going to make us a lot of money. But like Zach said, we already have the staff. We already have the equipment. My lights are already on. If this meant going home an hour early, that means that everybody's staying until the end of the day. I think a lot of the people in our business look at pricing a little bit different and possibly wrong. My staff is already here 40 hours a week. My lights are on 40 hours a week. My dryer is running for 40 hours a week. What I do within that 40 hours is how I make money. And so if we print a job for a contract customer and we make $1,000, just $1,000, not profit, or just $1,000, that $1,000 is extra on what we were going to make anyway. And the lights were on. We're not doing overtime, and overtime would actually be something we'd want to look at for contract. You know, if we're going to pay holiday hours, we'd want to look at that. You know, if we're going to outsource ourselves to because we're too busy, that's something we'd want to look at. So, but for us to stay busy, that's more important than not having to work and sending people home. And you know, the way I look at it is everybody's already here. We're already doing it. Let's just take it in. So, you know, we never really turn down work, but it's you know, contract keeps us busy all the time.
Well, and you kind of a couple things different that you said there. One, you said that it was actually busier during the pandemic initially, and that's what I love about our industry, and something that Deco software allows us to do, and that is to diversify how we make money. We can have so many sales channels. You can focus on B2B or B2C, or working with affiliates like YouTubers and so forth. Or maybe you're in the contract world. And the more different, you know, the number one thing with investing is to diversify yourself to avoid having, you know, everything hit the fan, because you have that safety net in a way. And I'm not saying that, again, contract is what it would, be your main revenue model, but it is nice to be able to have several different channels bringing you revenue. And it sounds like the majority of your contract clients are people in the industry who are essentially acting like a sales rep for you. You're
Yes.
doing everything as far as the decoration for them, but they're the ones dealing with the customers and so forth. All you're being asked to do is, here's the art, put it on this product, and I'll pay you for that little, that portion of the whole grand scheme of things. I mean, there's often a negative connotation that you're just a middleman. There's nothing wrong with being a middleman, and especially with a custom decorated product. I mean, most of us in the industry, we start out of our garage or our basement, and we grow into production space, and eventually maybe we'll have a couple different locations and so forth like yours. But it's beautiful that we can go any way we want. And I always love the idea of, don't buy equipment until you can justify the cost. And you mentioned earlier how embroidery, you're essentially paying off the contract embroiderer's equipment. You have to eventually have that make or buy decision. Are we going to start making this ourselves? Or are we going to keep outsourcing it? Is it profitable to bring it in-house now? And having, it's just great in the industry that, they can essentially outsource orders to a shop like yours before ordering their own equipment. And once they've proven to themselves that I've got the demand to bring this in-house, they can. But I also think that a lot of shops got to remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And if you go to a trade show, a lot of the sales reps will sell you. I mean, I don't care what if it's our industry or whatever, every rep is going to make something sound easier than it is. And at least initially, I love at the trade shows, and I'm not saying it's not possible, but hey, we can DTG on 100% poly. Yeah, but it's a water-based ink and it's a moisture-wicking material. Is it meant to be? Just because you've proven that you can, does that mean we should? And just because you have screen printing equipment doesn't mean that 500-piece order or that 10-color spot color is what you manually want to print. Sometimes it's plenty fine to play that middleman role, pass the order on to someone like you, but note that middleman role did require a lot of work. I mean, in the act of decorating a product, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, once you have the artwork ready and you're on press, printing the actual thing is probably the easiest part for you. It's getting all the other parts from the customer. And something, we've been talking primarily about embroidery and screen printing. Embroidery and screen printing, I mean, every decoration process is very much so an art. Now, with DTG and sublimation, I'm not saying that it's not an art, but a lot of it is pushing a button, letting the printer print it for you, and maybe you press it. Screen printing does take some more skill. Embroidery takes a little bit more skill. But what's amazing about those two processes is how cheap the materials themselves are that go into the act of decorating. Thread and backing is pathetically cheap at how much embroidery costs. When you look at screen, how much actual cost you have versus labor, it's all labor. So, and you, like you said, if that machine is there, your goal is to just get somebody to always be running that piece of equipment as much as it can. And in our industry, they build these pieces of equipment so that they can run 24/7. That's the idea, is you can maximize its potential. But is that one of the reasons why you like to offer the contract stuff? Because your cost in the act of decorating is so minimal. Your only cost really is your labor for the most part. I'm not saying it's not, but I mean, out of the cost to print a shirt, I mean, what is it? 5% material, 95% labor?
Yeah, I mean, other than the garment, obviously, but
yeah, other than the garment, yeah.
Yeah. I had it broken down years ago on the cost of printing a shirt, and just take $100 for a gallon of white. How many prints are you going to get out of that? You know, you're talking pennies, you know, just for white ink, and that's the expensive stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, we don't change anything, and I think that's sort of where you were going, is we're not changing anything to bring the stuff in. It's easy to get on the press. Once it's on the press, it's quick. I will say, when I first started my business, I started in the basement like a lot of people. I built my first press. I ended up going with a one station 4-color. Then I upgraded to a bigger press, then another one. And as I kept upgrading, I was able to take in a little bit more. And so that's kind of how these things happened, was I wanted to keep growing. So I kind of took in more of this contract stuff. As we've grown, I outsourced all of my screen printing, or all of my embroidery. I used to outsource a lot of my screen printing. And, you know, you mentioned it earlier that, I mentioned about buying the embroidery machine. Same thing with the screen printing stuff. You know, that's when I knew that an auto was in my future. I looked at what I paid my contract printer, and that number matched, you know, close to what the cost of an automatic press was. So why wouldn't I get, you know, other than staffing that press, training, you know, there's a lot more expense to an auto than there is a manual, but it made sense for me to make that move, and the amount of work I was sending out was enough too. So, you know, we made that leap, but I had to kind of secure some extra work to make sure that that press was always busy. And in doing so, right when we got our auto, we were way too busy. And so we were starting to outsource again. And, then we bought a second auto, and, you know, we, over the last 2 or 3 years since we've had that one, we've probably sent out 2 or 3 jobs, and that was mostly either a staffing issue or, you know, we just had a lot of other stuff going on. So we rarely outsource stuff. We do if we need to, but again, it's filler work for us. A lot of our contract customers are on the understanding of, you know, we'll get it done when we have time, or, you know, we have some of those customers that are, you know, they sell stuff at shows or fairs, and they don't really need it until the next season. So, you know, give me 3 months and I'll get it done for you. So that means January, February, March, we're printing their stuff. And, we did an embroidery contract job. I hate to admit it, but I think we got, I've got it written down on my desk. It's $14 for the dozen. So $1 something for each piece. It's a left chest, but you know what? We did it in January, and we had it out. It took us 3 weeks. There was like 1,500 or 1,700 pieces. It took us 3 weeks to do, only because we were doing our work first. And instead of sending both of my embroidery people home, I said, you can work the full day now. And so they, you know, worked diligently to get it done. And, you know, I told them, you need to do X amount an hour. And I'm not one of those people that's pointing and telling you got to get it done. But I said, on this one, we're not making any money. This is covering your cost. So I need you to get it done. No mistakes. And they got it done. I mean, the customer supplied the jacket. It had like 3,000 stitches. So it wasn't a very long job, but, we didn't lose money on it. And I kept them staffed for 3 weeks, and, you know, I actually think we made money on it. So, it wasn't about a $10,000 take home. It was about keeping them busy for a couple weeks.
Okay. And that brings me to the next question, which is who should offer contract printing embroidery? What shop should be doing it? It's kind of common sense with some of this, is in the fact that it comes to our capacity of what we can potentially put out in a given time as far as production goes. So you would not have been offering contract work out of your basement necessarily, correct?
No way.
No way. Not enough amount of space. You as a single person, you can't meet the contract needs by yourself in a manual press, right? You've got to have larger equipment, and you've got to have a little bit larger of a team. And I have to think, and you have a little bit larger of a team compared to a lot of shops. I mean, that's something beautiful about the industry and a lot of the people I work with in DecoNetwork software. I consult with a lot of shops that are mom and pop, 1 or 2 person. I talk with a lot of shops that have 50 to 100 people, larger companies. That's a unique industry where you can be very profitable being small or large, depending on what revenue route you're going. But to be a contract, I mean, you've got to be a little bit larger, and you really got to have that skilled production manager, I have to think, because a lot of your contract work, although the artwork might come to you as print or so ready as you ever could imagine, the expectations are often higher, I would think, especially for some of the retailers where, hey, this is a 10 spot color print. Well, I mean, a line in 10 screens is harder than a line in a 1 color. I mean, let's just be honest. So would you agree that having that experience is really what's coming into play with that skilled production manager? Somebody who can, again, look at a piece of artwork and immediately know, okay, we're going to flash print this, we're going to use this squeegee, this durometer, pass it on to your team member, and they take care of it.
Yeah. Well, starting with the equipment and stuff, I think embroidery 4 or more heads is good. I'd almost go more. I have 8 heads of embroidery, which is not that much. I've got a 6 head and 2 singles. I had 2 singles before I got another 6 head, and no way could I have run contract work on my singles. We didn't have the room. We didn't have the room for the work. Automatic. I think you could probably do it on a manual if you didn't have a whole lot of work. I've actually had employees that left me that were screen printing before they came to my business. They left and they ended up taking on their own contract customers, but they were limited on what they could do. Single, multicolors, that's fine, but they were really the backfill for some other people. So I think you could probably do it on a manual, but you're right. I think a lot has to do with experience, and having a bigger team definitely helps. When we do a big run, we have 2 or 3 people on the press and 2 or 3 people catching shirts. If you're a one-man show and you're doing 1,000 shirts, and it's a lot of work for that one person, and you want to touch these things the least amount. That's our business. That's production. You want to touch them in the least amount that you possibly can for the least amount of time you possibly can. And having a bigger team does help that. The space is a big one. I mean, I said no way in my basement. I would have been feeding boxes through the window there, and we have I think it's important to have a loading dock. It's not the only thing that's important, but one, if you have a loading dock, you're not paying the lift gate.
Yeah.
But I was talking about the 12 or 1,500 jackets that we did. That was like 6 skids. So I couldn't have taken that job if I didn't have room for it. And that was actually the first thing that the customer asked is, I need to store these there for 3 months. Can we do it? I said, sure, that's fine. That's a huge part of it. It's not, if you have a big garage or you have a big place, that's fine. But when somebody wants to do 10,000 pieces and it becomes, 10 or 11 or 12 skids, you got to have the room for it. The last thing is the relationships and multiple suppliers. I was giving an example with Zach earlier that, we went to go outsource direct to garment because we don't do direct to garment in-house anymore. I just, doesn't make sense for my company. We convert most of our customers over to other processes, and that actually kind of killed our direct to garment machines. And so we got out of the direct to garment business, but I've outsourced like 5 shirts last year, so not many. And the guy that I go to doesn't have an account with Sanmar. So now I got to go buy the shirt from Sanmar, 1 shirt, pay the shipping on it, and then have it shipped back to me. I've lost money just by buying that shirt. So what makes it beneficial as a contract printer is telling my customer, oh, you only need 24, don't pay shipping, let me buy it for you. And that'll save them the shipping price of $24 or $20 or whatever they charge. And I can get it quickly, and then I ordered it so I know it's coming in. And so I think having multiple suppliers kind of gives you a little bit of of an advantage if something's out of stock, or again, if it's a small run. You know, I want to be able to order from wherever my contract customers are going to order from.
Okay. Yeah, and one thing with the production space, in my experience, if you don't have enough space, you greatly increase your chance of making a mistake. And I know when you're printing in the basement, I mean, before you know it, you've touched the screen with your finger, and you're touching something else, and then you're touching something else. We've all been there, done that.
Even a big space has that challenge, but yeah, that's a good point. You know, the smaller the space, definitely, you know, it seems like less errors, but you know, we have a nice open, you know, floor plan, and it's kind of hard to lose something, and you know, we're not running around different obstacles where, you know, in other shops that we've had before we got our building, you know, we were building mazes out of boxes because we didn't have enough space.
Okay, so to kind of recap a little bit how contract printing embroidery is different compared to just working with an everyday consumer, just having just one kind of set pricing. Something I've seen in the industry, a couple different changes I've seen. One, most shops 10 years ago, when you were working with someone off the street or just a normal customer, everyone would double the cost of the garment. Okay, a t-shirt cost us $2, we're going to charge $4. Now that we buy everything on a piece rate and several other factors, now I see that the price is a lot closer typically to a 50% markup, a lot more control over your final price, and you put your cost to the customer in the act of decorating the product. Because we're not in the business of buying and reselling blanks. We're in the business of decorating them. And as you put it, you're really in the business of getting that finished custom decorated product to the customer. I think nowadays most customers don't even care how it's decorated as long as the quality's there and they're happy. They don't care what method you used to print it. And it's amazing how the industry has changed as far as, you know, vinyl 10, 15 years ago, it was terrible. Now it's one of my favorite processes to feel on a garment because it has a great hand and it's durable. Even plastisol ink, don't assume that all plastisol is the same. I mean, if your competitor is running everything through a 60 mesh screen and they're not, you know, putting any soft hand base or anything, yeah, plastisol can be a terrible finished product if you don't know what you're doing with it. But something I think that I've also seen in the industry is we try to simplify the ordering process as much as possible on our customer. I mean, there's so many variables that change the price for each decoration process. Screen printing is counting colors and quantity. Embroidery is counting stitches, so it's based on size. DTG may factor in the color of the garment because we have to use more pre-treat and so forth. So when it comes to what we are doing on a website, often we try to make it as simple as possible. I advise, if possible, to not include screen fees when you're quoting an everyday consumer. The everyday consumer has no idea what the heck a screen fee is. And it can confuse them. It kind of can feel like a bait and switch at times. So the simpler you can keep the pricing for a everyday consumer, the better. But when I look at your pricing, Tim, I see that you have screen setup fees and you have extra charges for larger size prints or difficult locations and so forth. So it goes back to the idea that if you educate your customer where the costs really are, everybody can win because every variable that is going to affect the price is truly being factored in here. And I miss the old days, Tim. In like year 2005 or earlier, I started using DecoNetwork in 2009. And back then, we didn't have like Sanmar's catalog available. So, and we didn't even have a lot of the decoration capabilities. I'm not saying Deco couldn't do this, but back in the early 2000s, we would show a price table, Tim, of, hey, look, if you buy this quantity, and it's this color garment, A plus B, the decoration plus the blank equals C, the total. I don't understand. I really don't understand why more people don't display tables. Now, when you have screen setup fees and everything else, it gets more complicated. But to be honest, I don't know what is wrong with letting the customer know where their price breaks are and how the price increases based on the amount of colors in the artwork. There's nothing here that is going to hurt the relationship. But you said that it takes, a month or two. But once after they've placed a few orders, is it pretty easy for them to just quickly understand how it works? And you also mentioned some of your customers, they refuse to learn how it works and they just want to keep saying, okay, what's the price going to be?
Yeah. It really does take about 2 months. And I said that I've got one of my employees that really, she manages a lot of our contract accounts, and we always have a conversation of like, what don't people get? I know, like, we're kind of giving it to them this way, and we just get a lot of pushback. But over time, people, like, they learn our process, they learn the address to ship to. And an example of that is, we have 2 store locations, and we have contract customers near both locations. One of the locations is an hour and a half from my production facility. The other one's about 10 minutes. People feel like a lot of our contract customers will buy the products from like Alpha Broder, ship it to their house or their business or whatever, go through it, bring it to our store, and feel like that is a better transaction for us. My store is an hour and a half away. We go there 2 days a week. That's pretty much what we do. So if you bring the box of shirts on Tuesday after my employee has left, that means we're not going there until Friday. So that's a 4-day delay on your order. So just ship it to my warehouse. I'll count it in. I'll let you know what's missing. But so that we've heard, I'd like to count it instead. But that's going to add 4 days to the back end. So if you need this for next Tuesday, and you're giving me the shirts on Tuesday, then I'm not getting them until Friday. You won't get them until the following week. So just teaching them our ways and the way we expect things, and the purchase orders, and this little a la carte menu. The beauty of it is you do know what you're getting. And if you're buying the shirt and you want a 1-color print, here's your price. But you got to you got to know that if you're on a pocket, or if you're doing 5 yellow and 5 white print, you're going to get a color change. And if you're going to get sweatpants, there's going to be an extra charge. And the reason for those are, when we go to price our normal customer, those things are built in. But when we're pricing our contract customer, we're basically saying the swipe of the squeegee costs this much. If it's got to slow down, if we've got to do something special, it's going to cost you a little bit extra. And the purpose of the contract relationship is ease. So the harder you make it, the more you're going to pay. And that's really the not me being mean way of saying it. An oversized print, it just takes a little bit longer to print. That's typically, and on an oversized print, you're probably making more than one screen. So 25 cents isn't that much, but you're also using more ink, and there's a couple different factors that factor into that. There's one thing I didn't add on here. We have an iron on our auto that I do need to add, and these clearly say 2019. I've updated it over the last 2 years, but we are due for a new update. But we got an iron for our press, and that's an add-on. So like that doesn't, if you say we want a nice soft print, or you have fibrous shirts, we may use the iron, and most likely we're not going to charge you if we have to use it. But if it's something that your customer wants, because it slows us down, so we're charging for it. But with our normal customers, we don't charge a screen fee. $10 t-shirt is $10. It's not. I'm in New Hampshire, so I don't have tax. So a $10 t-shirt is a $10 t-shirt, and that's it. One of the things that separated me when I first started, I've been doing this since 2010. I had a lot of competition in the town that we were in, and I had to think outside of the box, and everybody was charging screen fees. And so that's something people hated. And so we wiped out the screen fee. People were like, oh, wow, like no screen fee. So, you're saving them 25 to $100 per order just by, just by not charging that fee. And the way I've always told it to my customers is, if you go to a mechanic and they charge you a wrench fee, you should find yourself a new mechanic, because it's a tool that we use and it's not something you're going to get in the end.
Yeah, and you can just build it in the unit print price.
Yeah,
which is pretty simple. But it's kind of sounds like for your contract pricing, you look at where every one of your costs are, you find out how much you need to be able to make off of that cost, and then you just pass it on to the customer, or your client in this case. It's not trying to find every little way you can make money. It's just making sure you're covering your cost and making money at the same time.
Yeah.
And your turnaround times are often quicker for contractors. It kind of depend on the client. Sometimes they need it faster. Sometimes they have more flexibility.
Well, I think industry standard is a 2-week turnaround. My business standard has been 2 weeks forever. I mean, I was in the basement by myself 2 weeks. We have 2 autos, 2 weeks. It's just somehow we always fall into that 2-week turnaround. Now, especially with shipping and all the mess that is, it's 2 weeks. But contract's a little bit different, because most of the time they're sending you their shirts, or their apparel. So you have their stuff possibly a week before they need it. And then you got to also remember that they're in business doing the same thing that we're doing. So they're selling, to the same type of people. And so we often will be a little bit quicker than 2 weeks for a contract. Most of the time it's about a week. If we can make that work and have it happen. But again, we need to make sure that we're not super, super busy and going to fall further behind by throwing a contract job in. But there's an understanding, and everybody, all my production people know that contract and blind orders are very, very important to get done quickly.
Blind orders, you're talking about a white labeled kind of drop ship fulfillment glove service where you don't have any B's, T's branding, because your client might say, hey, I'm shipping you these shirts from Alpha. I want this artwork on it and everything else, but I need you to ship it to my end consumer. And essentially it needs to look like I did 100% of the work. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So, with Deco, this is a good one to talk about. With the web store world, the direction of our business is going web stores. I actually just hired a full-time web store builder. He's going to come on and he's going to, build web stores for our customers. He's going to work directly with the customer, and then he's going to build the web store, maintain them. So the direction of our business is web stores, and Deco does a really good job of doing the white label. The one thing that I would say is you can't get away from it completely, because the card gets charged from my business, so I can't really white label there. But we often have these web stores that don't want us to be the printer, if you will. They're the apparel brand. They want it coming from their address. They want it coming from their name. They want their business card slipped inside of it, and they want their packaging on the outside of it. And so we do a lot of that where, it'll be white labeled. It'll have a different business name. You wouldn't know that my company printed it. And in the contract world, that is the understanding. I will not come after your customers. I will not, they will not know that I printed your stuff. We will not, put anything on the box that says my name on it. With a lot of our local contract customers, we have to be careful, because the customer either went to us or to the people that we're printing for. So, my original store is located in a town. We print for 4 or 5 of the 12 shops that are around us. And, we might get a customer to walk in and say, hey, I want a quote. And then they go to our customer, and then they get a quote. And then we're printing the job anyway. They don't want to know that B's T's printed their stuff. They want it to be, this other company that printed their stuff. So we're very conscious and cautious about how we put those out. You can really destroy a relationship, and I've learned that over the past. you can destroy a relationship just by giving them a box with the wrong label on it, with our logo or with our name or something like that. And if you're in the promo business in general, most of that stuff is coming blind from or drop shipped from a vendor. You may not see the pens that go to your customer, but it has your name on them.
Yep. And you do upcharge to slip in things like business cards and other promotional marketing materials for the client?
Yeah. We're doing that a lot more now because, again, I think my business, we've got the Main Street model storefront, but you've talked about it a couple times about diversifying, and I learned a long time ago from the entrepreneurs, like the mega rich people. You got to have different income streams, and so one of our main income streams is the storefronts, but the web stores are the other income stream that I feel may overtake our business on the Main Street. But we have a customer right now that's doing masks, and we built him a Deco website, and with every mask we package it differently. It comes from him, from his website, and his address, and then we put a business card in there, and we charge him. So we bag it and tag it, and we charge him for that. And but it's a touch that is important to him and his customers, and it's more of a high end. It's not a high end mask, but it's a high end customer that they're reaching out to. So they're selling masks for $25, and if you get a mask in a bag that isn't wrapped and doesn't have a discount code on it, then the value isn't there. But these are poly bagged, and so different things that we offer. We also do a lot of fulfillment stuff. So we've done stuff where we'll ship out a book, or we'll ship out. I've got a customer that wants to do hat, shirts, and a race medal for a virtual run, and so we're running that through our ship station, and so we're kind of gearing towards that type of client where we could do some fulfillment and then the online type of business.
That's interesting. You're combining some products that you're actually decorating with some stock products as well. So they want, hey, I want you to ship these with this. It is amazing what the drop ship fulfillment capabilities, especially of the DecoNetwork. I tell people all the time, if I wanted to start a candle making company, I'm a big Office fan, so like Candles by Jan, you could technically have your own candle company, and you could find a bunch of other housewives who want to essentially start their own candle brand. You just white label it, drop ship fulfill it. Anything can be drop ship fulfilled through the software. Not to say that you even have to have it in here, but drop ship fulfilling, I mean, what made Amazon so powerful is the ability to just beat the logistics of being able to do things like that. Well, if you have any questions about outsourcing contract work to Tim Pipp at Bees Tees, email him at tpipp@beestees.com. Everyone, enjoy your day.